great to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting into the music, looking forward to getting into your life and the music. So thank you for taking a minute out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You bet. So let's begin with the pandemic, surviving it as a musician. 5 years ago, this thing rearranged all of us everywhere, especially musicians. How did you get through that era, and how has it influenced the way that you create and do things today?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely tough. I'm sure we all got those March 7th emails that all of our gigs were canceled. So it was definitely tough. In Canada, there was a little bit of sort of a program that kind of helped us with universal basic income. But I guess sort of luckily for me, I had in 2019 I had applied to some master's degrees and decided to go to Berklee Global Jazz. So kind of luckily for me, I started my master's in 2020. So it was kind of something to do and kind of coincidentally gave me a lot of downtime to do a master's when the gigs kind of disappeared. So I mean, not to say that it was easy, but it was kind of nice to go to school and take a couple years to go to school while the pandemic happened.
So talk to me a little bit about the new album. It's your second as a leader, kind of out west. What was kind of your artistic approach or vision for this album?
Yeah, for the second one, I really wanted to do it about stories within the Canadian landscape. So both members of the band, Ingrid and Christine Jensen, are from Nanaimo, British Columbia, which is the westernmost province in Canada, as well as our drummer Dave Lang is living in Edmonton. We both teach at MacEwan University. So I wanted to make it about the Canadian Western prairies. I know it's been an inspiration for a lot of people, whether it's been Joni Mitchell and more of the folk part of music. So it's really an ode to how different the Canadian prairies can be, whether it's the Rocky Mountains, whether it's the grasslands, whether it's the Badlands, which is where the pictures for this album were taken. But yeah, just quite the ode to Canadiana and the landscapes here in Canada.
So are the Canadians feeling a little bit more emboldened because of all of this nonsense that Trump's been doing in America?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I know we just had an election ourselves, and the opponent of our current prime minister was running on a platform called Canada First, and it really didn't go well for him. I think there was a lot of pushback that he tried to run a Trump style campaign, and I think he actually might have won if he hadn't leaned into the Trump aspect so much.
Okay. And hopefully that will happen here. We're done with it. We are totally done with it. And we all knew the half of us that knew what was going to happen we were just on a train track waiting for the train to come. We just knew it was going to happen. So I feel I just, I know we don't have to apologize, but I feel so bad, especially for the Canadian people that this whole thing went down. So, but that's the thing I think too, is that music is that thing right now that can really help people escape and to get into different places. Are you thinking more and more in these modern times that music is that level of not only escapism for the audience, but for musicians?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that great art kind of comes from troubled times, unfortunately, but um, uh, it definitely is providing an escape. I think that it also is important to say something, and especially within jazz, I think it's a social music. So I think it's even given us a lot of material to critique what's happening, and definitely globally. I mean, not just the United States, of course. And there's a lot of new problems that we run into, especially as musicians, talking about AI that is completely new territory.
Yeah. So what are you hoping a listener gets from this new album?
Yeah, it is an instrumental album, but um, I do try to write about the experiences I've had, and so while it is an ode to the prairies, it's also an ode to personal experiences and the stories of the quartet. So I think it's a very different album that talks about whether it's ancestors or kind of the world that we're in today, my one of my tunes on the record, Cricklewood Lane, is about getting stuck around a bunch of hooligans in London, England. So I try to make it kind of modern, but also some odes to ancestors. So I hope that they can just get a big picture and really get into the variety that the record offers.
So take me back to your beginnings. How did the bass, how did jazz, how did all of this become your career?
Yeah, it's been, I guess, a little bit of a long road. I mean, I started playing violin, classical violin at age 8. Kind of got into rock music in my teens on electric guitar, which then turned into electric bass, and then upright bass in my later teens. Um, and I really I got into jazz sort of weirdly. Being in Alberta, I became an electrician right out of high school, and I was working really long hours. This is like a an oil province, so I was working on oil refineries and was working really long shifts and would play bass as soon as I finished my shift, kind of alone in camp. Got really into Jaco Pastorius, and then kind of the rest is history. That was kind of my entry drug into the world of jazz.
So when you decided that you were going to pursue a music career, there's this idea that you have. There's this kind of notion of what you think your career is going to be like, what being a musician is going to be like, and then it happens. What's been the difference between what you thought it was going to be and what it's actually become?
Yeah, I guess the number of emails and admin that you write. I was saying to a friend the other day, I feel like you're your own everything, your own travel agent, your own assistant. Uh, so the biggest thing is the amount of time that it takes, and grant writing, your own grant writer. So being regimented in your practice and your composition, but also having to be just so so regimented in all the other things you have to do. So it's really a 60 to 80 an hour week job, and kind of managing those time blocks.
So what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What ultimately motivates you and gets you up every day?
I think it's really a privilege, and I've seen, sometimes the work can dry up, or we can even get writer's block. So sometimes, even when there's a 9 or 10 a.m. rehearsal, I try to remember just what a gift it is to be there, and it's a competitive place. We all love doing it, so um, if I don't love it, there'll be someone to replace me. But I just think it's, how wonderful that I get to play music for work every day instead of being an electrician. So yeah, I try to remind myself that on the days where it can feel like more of a slog.
So what was the first live jazz show you saw, or first live concert that blew you away and made you think, maybe started some little dreams that I want to do that?
This is it's a big one actually. I had started going to the University of Toronto in Toronto, and in 2013, Wayne Shorter and his quartet came to
Wow.
Massey Hall. So it was Esperanza Spalding on bass, Brian Blade on drums, and Leo Genovese on piano, and it was just so incredible. Everyone in that quartet sounded so wonderful. So that was kind of um, a huge one for me, and kind of made me switch to considering jazz and really getting into it. And yeah, just a really inspiring quartet. So a concert I'll never forget.
So that's the home of where Charlie Parker and Dizzy had that big, huge massive show. Do you feel that energy when you get in there? I mean, does it feel good?
Yeah, it's an amazing venue. Yeah, very well done. The renovations are gorgeous. There's some really old venues in Toronto, and yeah, you're right. That's a great point. Oscar Peterson played there so many times too.
Yeah.
I unfortunately never got a chance to see him live, but yeah, there's some really historic jazz musicians specifically that have played Massey Hall.
I just recently discovered that that concert was poorly attended because there was a big boxing match and everybody was watching the match, so they didn't go. And it's like, are you kidding me? The one concert of a lifetime, you know? But
Wow.
that
Wow,
that
thanks for that tidbit. I had no
I
idea.
didn't either. Someone just said it like they said it like everybody should know, and I was like, I had no idea that any of that was the backstory. But truth is always stranger than fiction. That's for sure.
Yeah, wow.
So,
Wow.
so why do you love this art form we call jazz?
I think that jazz historically has been such a social activist art form. Um, it's always a place. Of course, it started as a Black American music, so it's always been a place for the outsiders, but for something to say, whether it's Ella Fitzgerald being jailed in 1955 for singing to an integrated audience, or whether it's Billie Holiday singing "Strange Fruit." I think it's always been the best medium um, for social movement, I think more than any other genre. Maybe I'm pumping up jazz a lot, but more than any other genre, it's kind of the place for social movement.
So you've clearly seen somebody that a lot of people would love to have seen in Wayne Shorter. But if you could go into a time machine and go back and see one show, where are you going?
Wow, that's a good question. Um, Probably Thelonious Monk in Paris
Okay.
would be uh, just an amazing group to see. I know when he got his cabaret card taken away in New York, he played in Europe quite a bit, and I've heard those concerts were really incredible. So yeah, I think Thelonious Monk Quartet in Paris.
I would just love to hear that growl when he would talk. Just the whole thing. It was so cool. Like when I catch that in recordings, I think Bud Powell did the same thing. There was a couple of those guys back in the day that really did talk a lot while they played. Those would be the kind of the sounds that I would love to hear while they were riffing it out.
Yeah, yeah.
So let me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans, everyone on the bandstand, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think that I'm a little bit icy, I guess. I'm very businesslike on the stage, so I think I'm very confident, but um, also making a lot of faces band leader. So the confident ice queen, I would say.
So if anyone wants to see that version of you live, they want to get a copy of Kinda Out West, any of the good business, your debut album, where do they go?
Yeah, for physical copies, I do have copies for sale, shipping worldwide on my website, arethatillotson.com. I'll also be touring. I'll be in Toronto in the end of February, on February 25th. And then for those in Canada, doing a Canadian tour at the end of June. So the Jazz Festivals tour across Canada. And then, of course, I'm available on streaming as well on all platforms.
Okay. I will put links in the show notes, Aretha. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for taking a minute out. Best of luck with the album and have a wonderful 2026.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Great questions. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Neon Jazz.